Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Paranormal Karen, funny too. Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Oh, and did I mention she's funny too? Yeah, cha-cha-cha.
Hey everybody, welcome to Paranormal Karen. We are in season 2 in the new year in January. And real quick, I want to get some comedy dates out to you. I am going to be in Las Vegas at Brad Garrett's February 24th through March headlining. I'm going to be in Bellingham, Washington, March 6th through 8th. And I'm going to be in Miami doing my favorite show where I do stand up and I read tarot on stage. May 16th, that is Miami. So, folks, I want to tell you, today's show is, I hope you guys always know my number one thing on the podcast is to entertain you. And number 2, to bring you new information or open your minds or something interesting. But I think this will probably be one of the very few times you will hear me say this. I think today's episode is so important. Okay, we're talking about 5G, we're talking about Shungite, we're talking about a lot of stuff. I am going to post this. My Facebook people are going to get mad. I'm going to post this one so many times. So please share this. My guest today from cosmicreality.net is Derek Condit. Derek, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing really well, Karen. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
I cannot tell you the list of synchronicities that got me to you. In fact, anyone that listened 2 episodes ago when I ran into Diet, I was talking about how I found you guys, and it was fascinating. Now, first of all, before we get into 5G and Shungite and all the awesome things that you sent me. Tell me a little bit about your journey, how you got into you do everything. You teach intuition classes. Tell me a little bit about you.
Oh, sure. I do. I'm kind of all over the map, as can be said. So I'm somewhat called an intuitive and an energy worker. So I can actually see energies and auras and, what we sometimes call spirit guides and angels. So with that gift or understanding, I was also informed about 4 years ago from these same guides, as I like to call them, about Shungite. And it was relatively new to me then as well. So it kind of all ties in together with my intuitive capabilities and whatnot, and also being an organic beekeeper. So I just followed the input and introduced Shungite to the beehives, and it's been kind of a whirlwind of, miraculous stories since then. So we have recently opened a mystical wares store, and that's an actual storefront in Mount Vernon, Washington, so that I can now get out more in the public and interact and even give classes on, as you mentioned, enhancing your intuition, but also free classes on for Shungite beehives and teaching the public how to introduce Shungite to their beehives.
Now, for the folks that don't know, this is where I became obsessed. 5G is, some people said it's here. Do you know it's 5G here or it's coming?
It's already here in many areas, whether they acknowledge it or not, meaning, whoever's in charge of the area. But it is here in many spots and in many other countries.
And it's basically a whole lot of radiation. The towers are closer to us than they were with 4G, and it's people are getting sick from it.
Yeah, it's actually, unfortunately, Karen, it's actually termed a microwave energy. So that's the form or wave of energy that comes off of them, and they're a whole lot closer to us, and not just in our neighborhoods, but anywhere we travel. And it's a very non-biocompatible frequency. So it's very disruptive. It'll push our immune systems into compromised states. So if we're already physically at risk or having issues, it's going to just antagonize that even more. And not just humans, plants, animals, bees, everybody.
Yeah, everybody. And this is, I'll see if I can put a link in the notes too. My friend Tommy, who actually lives in Bellingham, Washington, up near you, made a very short documentary on it. And it was really, this is the part of the metaphysical that I love. And I think that is coming where worlds are coming together, where science and metaphysical words are going to come together. Because Shungite, the crystal that I found that you guys have the whole shop of, now does it absorb radiation? Does it block radiation? What does it do?
Yeah, that's an interesting question because actually, Shungite is from, I'll really quickly just give a little background. It's from one spot on the planet. It's called Karelia, Russia, and it's thought to be a meteorite due to its component or makeup of a C60 molecule. It looks like a buckyball, a soccer ball, fullerene, lots of names for it. But because of the high volume or percentage of those which need to be formed in the vacuum of space, and it's only located in one place on Earth, this deposit, it's called Shungite. So what it does is scientists are actually, and it's not just us here in the metaphysics community, it's the physics community, and there's really no difference between the two, as you know, exactly. Right. So we've actually republished studies where scientists have taken Shungite and made gloves for high radiation environments. So, and that's just one way they're doing it. What it does is it has an interaction with the rads or radiation particle on the molecular level. It'll either lend, I'll try not to get too science here, but lend or take an extra electron in the case needed. And long story short, break down that harmful particle into its constituents, making it not harmful. So, yeah, Shungite's been used in scientists, again, not us here in my shop or anything like that, that's, people wouldn't tend to believe. They like to hear it from doctors and scientists. So they've also fed it to rats and tripled their lifespan.
Wow.
And isn't that crazy? Yeah.
Well, everything. This only runs an hour, and God, I feel like I can't tell you. I've been waiting weeks to interview. I'm just so excited because when immediately you sent me the greatest little gift bag when you said, "Well, thanks for having me on the show. I'm going to send you a little something ahead of time." And the first thing that shocked me was you had Shungite honey.
Oh yeah. That because of our Shungite beehives, and we're what's called chemical-free or organic beekeepers, just really anti-chemical, not just us but our bees. So we actually take our unpasteurized, which would be a raw honey, which still has the good microorganisms, probiotics, antibiotics, all the good stuff we all need for our belly problems that we all seem to have nowadays. We take that and add a very small percentage of Shungite powder to it and mix it in. And a whole lot of this I can't say on the radio or different TV spots I go on because of kind of the realm it gets into. But let's just say it has miraculous results on many cases. One external example I can tell you really quickly was my wife Maureen was unfortunately attacked by a neighbor's dog some months ago. Oh. Yeah. So and I didn't know this, but quickly she got bit, tore open in the hand a couple inches long, and evidently because of bacteria in dogs' mouths, doctors don't sew it shut. So we use the Shungite honey, and this is just one example of many of cases that are being used, which is it closed in a matter of days, and there was no scarring after the effect. It's a rapid, and that's a combination of the raw honey, because a good raw honey will do that as well. But then with the benefit of Shungite, which takes care of free radicals and radiation and other toxins. So now it's just really another boost up sort of thing. Okay. And so there's lots of uses for it.
So that some of this is going on my wrinkles now that you said that.
What's funny, Karen, is my wife makes a Shungite skin balm as well out of the organic beeswax. And then you add the Shungite powder and a little bit of the honey to that. And think eczema, psoriasis, scars, burns. So those are the two, really good key products we do have from the Shungite beehives and Shungite.
Wow, I'm much more shallow. I was hearing wrinkles, age spots. But you know what? That's fascinating. So it is ingestible, though, obviously.
Yeah, it is. We have it in very small amounts. So when we put it in the honey, it's smaller jars, and we're really just putting enough to balance on, say, the end of a toothpick, and we stir it in there. But the bees do transfer some because we put the Shungite powder in little trays at the entrance, and the bees will actually be drawn to that powder, walk through it, and because of an electron charge on their legs, it adheres to them. So now the bees will actually fly out to the fields and deposit these shungite powder. We call them like little bee pendants on them because we sell shungite pendants for humans. So in essence, we've now got these 50,000 bees or so from each hive delivering shungite powder, which, by the way, does remove and break down glyphosate, Roundup, toxins, weed killer. And this has been proven. So we've got our own army now that are out there helping these local farmers and crops and our neighborhoods that use chemicals as well to depositing this. So it helps the bees maintain their own health. So we have no colony collapse disorder losses, which is huge on the planet all around right now. And we have none due to the shungite. It's been pretty amazing.
Wow. See, now that's funny because that's how I found you. I was performing in, I had been, let me put it this way. My browser history had Shungite searches more than Charlie Sheen has porn. I was looking at this for months, and I did a show at Ogden, Utah, and I met people out in front that were at the show in front of a crystal shop, and they said, "Oh, did you hear about the bees and the shut? We can't remember what we heard." And I was like, "No, I didn't hear anything." Literally, the next Google search I put in, your logo came up. And now I don't know if this is misinformation, but the lady said the bees, like all our Wi-Fi or magnetic stuff, was kind of screwing up the bees' navigation. Was that true?
Yeah, that's actually what a big cause is, because often colony collapse disorder, which is what's attributed to be the biggest disruption on bees worldwide now, it's often thought of as a chemical issue. So the bees go to the crops because of pesticides that's compromising their immune system and they're dying. Yes, absolutely, that's an issue. But even more so, think frequencies in the air. So bees, birds, fish, other individuals on this planet can see these, sometimes they're called ley lines, energy lines, frequencies, lots of terms for this, Oregon field. But with this new add-on of 5G, so 4G was bad enough, but with 5G now, think of it as a disruption of these frequencies that the bees use for navigation. So when they leave their hive, and they'll go up to 7 miles from the hive a day. That's huge for a little tiny bee to fly. Well, let's say all of a sudden they're 7 miles away and all these street signs get really blurry, because that's what's going to happen. Well, the bees don't make it home. They get stuck out in the cold in the field, and often they tend to, die at night. So they just don't return to the hive. So scientists and beekeepers have just called that colony collapse disorder, where the bees are just gone. Well, that's what it is. They're flying and seeing these frequencies or energy lines, and it's not just them. It affects us as humans as well. And these are some of those frequencies that I can, I work with and see myself, and they have a big effect on all living creatures.
I've made some small adjustments in the last year. So I read tarot cards during the day over the phone, and I have it on speakerphone. I point it away from me, and I got a big block. This year I put a big block of Shungite behind it, behind the phone. And also, I got one of those radiation blocking earpieces, and I have to say, I think a lot clearer. I mean, I'm sure that the radiation doesn't affect you that fast, but I feel like I'm thinking a lot clearer with both of those.
No, it'll affect you instantaneously. So no, don't underestimate yourself or what you're feeling. It's not placebo effect, which is a miracle in itself, by the way. We won't even get into that. But the fact that, so the frequency will help, and Shungite is a frequency device or mineral. So really size doesn't matter. So to get that point across, I say, you don't really need a big boom box from the 80s. And maybe, I'm kind of up there in age, so I picture that guy with it on their shoulders. Well, you can now have today's iPods. Wow. And then get the same radio. So it's a frequency thing, not size. So what I'm getting at is a little piece of Shungite. You can put it right there on your Wi-Fi router, or like we sell stickers with a little tiny piece of it embedded in it that you can slide between your phone and case. And you don't have to worry about a big sphere or pyramid, taped to your phone. That's kind of not convenient. But it does have an effect immediately. So when you're saying you feel the difference, well, how I like to kind of explain is, think of now again, I'm a little dated here, but I grew up with what's called rabbit ears on my TV, where so some of us know those with aluminum foil sometimes on there. Well, think of it without the Shungite and all these frequencies. you're trying to watch TV, but you're getting all that snow from way back then. You're in between channels, and we're trying to focus in. Well, it does that. It causes that disruption and takes a portion of your energy to work in that. So again, it throws you in a non-biocompatible rate or frequency, which will trigger immune systems or diseases, and it's just a compromise.
And also, I feel like that's why everyone suddenly has memory problems.
Oh, that's true. That's absolutely happening.
Yeah, everyone is complaining about that. Okay, so, and you sell the fine powder, so we should not shovel spoonfuls of that in. You were very clear about that. We'll get the honey. Also, people with cancer that they're giving radiation to, is that does that not go together? Does it help afterwards? Any suggestion on that?
Sure. Now, what I can say is, because of course, we're walking a fine line here, so I can, and I think
right. You're not a doctor. And,
yeah. Yep. Exactly. And I don't play one on TV either. So yeah. So, but we're just talking here. So what I can say is, bringing it back to that rat study, shungite does have an effect on free radicals. Now, think precursor to tumors and cancers. It does break those up, and that's why when they fed, and again, this study is on the cosmicreality.net's website under research. The scientific study, not me just telling you about it or some story of me. It's actually republished there, along with many others. And they fed the powder to cattle, to chickens, all with amazing effects. And we have here as well. So I'm not telling anybody to eat shungite. That's for each individual to consider and look at themselves. And weigh the options there. But when scientists have fed it to the rats, and rats die of cancer, people don't often know that, but that's if they happen to live long enough to where they're going to die of cancer. That's just what rats do. So when they were fed the shungite powder, it tripled their lifespan. Wow. And the scientists actually had to, terminate the rats to end the study because they just weren't dying. And things like that. So we have fed the powder to our cats. So if I had a sick cat that was up there in age and she had some tumor issues and I've probably got 30 of these same stories, a little bit of the powder on the wet cat food or dog food, by the way, give it to them. It's just going to be, you're going to have a miraculous story all of your own. And that's without talking about shungite energized water, where you would just take 3 nuggets, put them in your water, and leave them. It affects or structures the water so it's biocompatible.
Oh, my God. You're so, you can't understand how ahead of me you are. In fact, we're going to be jumping all over. I promise you I'm a better interviewer than I am right now, but I'm so excited. Okay, so energize the water. So we can do that for ourselves, humans as well as animals.
Oh, I would recommend that. And I've got the same 3 nuggets in my same mason jar. And I'm hinting at here, that's drinking out of a glass jar for more beneficial reasons. So I'm kind of throwing a lot of tips out here as well. So yes, and I've used the same nuggets so they last a lifetime is also what I want to make sure clear here. So I put the 3 nuggets in my water, make them large enough so they don't pour out when you're taking a sip, because you don't want to swallow a shungite nugget. Yeah. So make them large enough. And we do sell packs that are large enough, like large marble size things. So what it does, because it's frequency, scientists call the same thing structured water, vortex water, M-state water, anything like that. So again, quickly, when water is pumped from the ground through a pumping station, is going through mechanics and machines and 45-degree angles. Well, the water molecules, when they go through these different devices and electrical fields in the pumps, it unstructures them. So tear up the puzzle of the water molecules. So by the time it comes out of your tap and you're taking a drink, your human body or your animals aren't seeing that as biocompatible water. You actually take a drink of water, you pee out 90% and you absorb 10% approximately. So if you add the shungite to the water, actually just drop the nuggets in there and it's instant. You structure the water on the frequency level and reverse that number. So now when you drink that water, you absorb 90% and pee out 10%. Wow. And that's called biocompatible or living water. We're all walking around, Karen, dehydrated, especially here in America and whatnot, because of these things. But we don't know that. We see water in a glass. Oh, I'm drinking plenty of water. No, you're not. Think of it as a puzzle all shook up in the box. You dump it out. Your body doesn't know what that is. It needs to be structured or energized so the molecules look like water. Otherwise, your body says, oh, no, not water. Get it out. And that's kind of what's going on.
I do hot yoga in LA every day, and I drink so much water, and it's just lately, especially, I've been getting muscle cramps, and I was like, how come I'm not hydrated? Okay. Hang on one second, folks. We'll be right back. I have 500,000 questions, for my guest, Derek. From my podcast series, Conversations with April Readings is here. How are you, lady?
Hi, Paranormal Karen.
How would you describe what you do?
I'm a psychic medium, animal communicator. I'm also clairvoyant, clairaudient, and clairsensory.
And Claire fun. Don't ever forget that. You're always fun. I get readings from you all the time. I call you when I'm in a pinch. What can someone who is getting their first time reading expect?
I love to start with what I call your psychic inbox, and that's where we get to see spirit messages, energetic pictures, and any information that's actually important for you to know about today that you might not even ask about. It's what brings you to the reading, and it also creates a context for the rest of your reading.
And then
you get to ask any and all specific or general questions about any area or relationship in your life, and we zoom in on that.
That's my favorite part because you are so specific and one of the most accurate readers I've ever been to.
Thank you.
AprilReadings.com is where anyone can book a reading.
Yes.
And then at April Readings on Instagram.
Yes, definitely follow, like, and share. And my commitment is really that it's fun and that people leave energized and hopefully with a little bit of healing.
And a lot of inspiration.
Thank you, Karen.
Okay, Derek, back on the water, because one of my questions was, could I put some in my bathtub? Because you know how sometimes selenite or something like that will melt?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Shungite,
no, I would do that.
Does it have any, if I put it in my bath, obviously it makes the water better. Maybe it's better just to put it in my drinking water.
No. Do that. We put it in our baths. I actually have what's called a Shungite hot tub. So I have some big spheres and throw them in there. So again, like I like to say, I'll get there quickly. Your skin, of course, think of it as your third kidney. So of course, that's a huge amount of processing of fluids in there, and that's both ways, by the way, inside and out. So I would say yes. And then add the we do it, by the way. So add the Shungite nuggets, just 3. Again, it's not a volume thing, so size doesn't matter. Put the 3 nuggets in your water, and it will structure that water. So now on the water exchange on a molecular level through your skin and the water, you're going to rehydrate on a much more beneficial level. Wow. And then the same thing, now think plants. So also, don't let that be lost on you. Put the 3 nuggets in your cat and water dish, dog bowl. Our cats will steal the nuggets out, and dogs. We've had birds fly away. Yeah, because we put them in the bird bath in the backyard, or living. It's called living water. Give it to your plants. You're going to see them double in size. And then, Karen, and I'll slow down in a moment. If you want to even go one step further, sprinkle a little powder at the base of your plant, and you're going to see it triple in size compared to the plant maybe you didn't do that to.
Wow!
And you definitely do this at home. It's amazing.
And you sent me a soap.
Oh, that's it.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Pink Himalayan salt soap with Shungite powder. So that's, a lot of us know about Epsom salt baths and whatnot, and that's a bath for our auras or chi, prana, Oregon energy. So all those invisible energies we know about by a lot of names, that's very important. And that's why it would be beneficial to take an Epsom salt bath or a pink Himalayan salt bath. And in this case, I don't have a bathtub, so my wife developed Maureen a pink Himalayan salt soap with the powder and even a little nugget embedded in it. So now you can head to toe shower salt or Epsom salt bath, and it's amazing. It's actually all I use.
Wow. Okay. So I keep saying, I think I've said 100 wows already, but I was really quite, the 5G thing was bothering me for a while, and I can't remember who told me this. And I feel like, I know this is overly dramatic, but I feel very relieved at these answers that you have. So, so that's wonderful. Now, when you say size doesn't matter, that's excellent. So that really means a small necklace, or like you said, a small rock on your Wi-Fi router. It all helps.
Yeah. It's a frequency. So it's one of those things you want to remove the harmful portion of the frequency. So in my case, I'm kind of a country music guy, and let's say I don't like, say, rap music, and somebody enters my room with a rap radio playing. Well, maybe in my case, I want to have more of that country music, that harmonious frequency, not 5G or 4G. So it's all a frequency thing when we all can break it down to that level. And it really does break down that far. And that's how you can then manipulate it. So just getting rid of that, or one person yelling in the crowd, disruption, it's just a frequency or a sound. and they're a little bit different. But think if that was removed, what a big difference that can be, because that one person, say, yelling while you're trying to give a speech, even though there's 10,000 people listening, that's a huge disruption.
Right.
So, yeah, and it's just one of, say, 5,000, but it does matter with frequency. So the small, and then when you get rid of that one, or again, it's not a volume thing, the small nugget, like you were saying, makes a difference to have that in the frequency.
See, that's because I was very confused because I have the stickers here and I'm going to buy them for all of my family now. And they can, I don't know if they'll laugh at me, but they're going to have them on their phones. They're so reasonably priced, everyone. I really want you to go to cosmicreality.net and at the very minimum pick up a sticker. But this is not an expensive stone.
No, it's not. I mean, in fact, I'll give you a little hint too. And they do come in sticker form that they can be peeled. But hey, save your money, because what you can do when you're going to have to be forced to get a new phone in a couple of years, just, kind of the way it works nowadays, looks like. So don't peel off it's called an S4 sticker. Don't even peel off the sticker from the back of the backing. Just slide the whole thing between your phone and case, so you don't have to come back, because it's not a money thing for us. It's an energy and love thing. So that's what it's about, and that's what's important. So this way, again, what I'm getting at here, you don't have to buy a new sticker. You can just slide it between the phone and case, or get some Scotch tape and tape one of these same stickers to your Wi-Fi router, and that'll make a huge difference. And then they'll last you forever.
Well, I ordered from you the bag of, I think they were medium-sized stones, because I thought I'm going to put them around my bed.
Oh, that's a good idea. People have used, and we make them as well. It's called orgonite or orgone devices. Just think energy devices made out of metal and inorganic materials that affect energy. So we've made some Shungite orgone devices that work that way as well, that you can place around your bed. So if you have a bed frame, that's not a bad idea. You can secure the Shungite to it, because think of your mattress or box spring or bed frame. That's kind of an antenna. It really is. And it's going to pick up other frequencies, even from the wiring in the walls of your house or under your floor. There's electrons going through your power lines. And let me tell you, they're not in the wire. These aren't hollow wires. They're just guided along the wiring we use. And there's a lot of leakage, even in outlets. So what I would also recommend to tie in, because you brought up the bed, is we take safety plugs, those little cheap plastic things you can plug so kids don't put their fingers in outlets. Mm-hmm. Well, we have a Shungite paint. So we have a paint. I actually mix a large amount of Shungite powder in there and put a few drops on the back of these, and then plug it in. And that'll help with attenuation or the leakage from the outlets that are behind your bed. So I'd recommend everybody, they don't have to get ours in, they can make their own. But the point is, look behind your beds, because often there's an outlet there with a lot of electron leakage. And this is physics, by the way. And that's going to be really disruptive to a lot of us while we sleep, when we should be regenerating.
Sleep issues now are enormous with people. Now you said, I didn't see that on your website. You make a paint. You're selling that also?
We do, and I think we just had to change over the store because of some checkout issues. So with the paint, I'll have up here within the day, but think like a fingernail paint, so fingernail polish size container, and we add the paint. But even more so, again, I mentioned it was all about love and energy to us. Well, I'm going to teach you how to make your own paint. You don't have to have ours. So again, you can get the powder, make sure it's legit, or we do have the powder, but then you'll add maybe a tablespoon of this powder to your own gallon of paint. Now you've got a gallon of paint, and I've done whole rooms with this, whole Reiki rooms, to think attenuating those harmful frequencies and energies. So you can do that at home on a much cheaper level. And I have a whole online postings on how to do this yourself. But we will start selling the small jars. So think for your Bluetooth devices, these little earbuds that you put in your ears nowadays, or even hearing aids. You'd want a sticker. Even a sticker's too big for that. You don't want to tape a nugget to it, of course. So a little drop of paint, because again, volume doesn't matter.
Wow. Cause I saw the powder, the bags of powder, and I kept thinking, Well, that must be for a lawn if you have a lawn or something. But now I'm finding, wow, this is fantastic. Yes, make your own paint. It's funny because I know someone told me about a friend of theirs that was an artist that didn't want the 5G in his house. And he did either I know you can order special clothes and stuff like that. And he did his whole house with, I think, what was the paint, which is very expensive. It's but he did it, and he couldn't, and now he's got no internet in his house because he did it so like that. This is such a great thing, and it's such a flexible rock, because you sent me something rubber here. Is that the Shungite in sort of an acrylic or something?
Oh, that's some pretty amazing stuff. So we call that the Shungite rubber. So what it is so an image to the people listening out there. So think mouse pad. It's sort of like the texture and feel of it. So it's a rubber, and we take Shungite powder with pure silver, so actual silver particles, which adds a physical healing frequency to this. And scientists know this as well. So we then mix in that Shungite and silver powder together. It's called S4 powder. And we mix it in the rubber. And then what you can do with that, well, I used it last night, and you can lay on it. So I do many 1,000-mile road trips every year. So I'll sit on these little, think Shungite piece, because you don't exactly want to sit on a nugget, not real comfortable. Yeah. Or you don't want it in your back. So what you do is Shungite actually has an effect on your energy body or aura. So let's, for example, I have leg pain or back pain. That's typically not usually a physical issue. It's your energy body issue, and your physical body is manifesting off your aura or energy body. So rather than taking Advil to fix the issue, which is just inflammation anyway, no, that's a symptom. Affect your aura. So if you introduce Shungite to that area, it restructures your aura or energy body, and you heal yourself. And that's what's happening. So you would want the rubber. So in your case, if you have sore arm, leg, whatever, and cats and dogs, don't think just humans, put it in the area. You're going to have amazing stories when we talk next, Karen. And I've used it for I stole my wife's head, what do they call them? Earmuffs. Mm-hmm. Check out the inside, put little tiny round pieces of this Shungite rubber in there, went to bed, and I'm not going to get into details, but bad ear infections gone overnight. And I have doctors across the U.S. using the same rubber, by the way. And they're having the stories are endless, and it's really amazing. And it's not us doing the healing. It's Shungite removing the harm from your own frequency, and you're healing yourself. That's the beauty of it. So it's used again by Reiki masters across the planet, and I'm one of them as well. But we're not doing the healing. Remember, we're just affecting energies, removing the bad stuff, and then you're healing yourself.
Right.
And that's when it gets really exciting. Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, yeah, and I also am a Reiki master. I don't do it as much anymore as I used to, but it is, we're inciting the healing. But I love this, and you're doing it beautifully by not promising craziness. You're like, get your body restructured so it can help itself.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. We can all heal everything ourselves. We just need to stop the outside input or the harm or whatever. Give ourselves a breather on all the levels, physical, emotional, and energy bodies. And those aren't the only ones, but those three are really key ones. And once we get a breather and catch our breath with air quotes there, we can heal ourselves. We don't need medications. Your body isn't craving some chemical out there called a prescription. It just doesn't make sense.
And it's so funny because I thought about my nephew, because my nephew is in love with his earbuds, and I was like, you know what I mean? Like, he's a young guy, and I'm not going to change his mind, but this is perfect answer with the paint. Now, if I'm a very craft person, I do a lot of crafts. If you were to use this, like Shungite, obviously its consistency doesn't change, is what I like. If you were to put it in resin, it would not change it, or would lock it in or stay? Because you have it in rubber, so that might be sort of the same thing, right?
It's kind of sort of. We have it in resin as well, and other devices. We make magnets with it. So now think a crystal, like a quartz crystal. If you were to, if you were to squeeze a crystal, it's called Piezo Electricity. It actually generates energy and light. And there's a frequency to it, which is why in many watches it says quartz. Well, there's an actual chip of a quartz in there. It's a frequency. There's running energy through it, and it vibrates at a set frequency, which sets your watch. We've been doing it for, a couple hundred years. So when there's that compression, and that's what Shungite has. So think a moving of energies, and sometimes they call it orgonite devices. And that's what happens when earthquakes happen and there's huge crystal caverns underground. It's crushing or putting pressure on these crystals, which is affecting the organ or aura or just energies around us. And that has an effect there. So with the rubber or resin, and we add the shungite, as it solidifies and hardens and takes form, it's got a continual pressure. So think movement of the energy that's already there. So I wouldn't say a boosting or anything. It makes a movement. And then we add the frequency of silver to tie in the physical body's frequency healing. And that's how it kind of works. And then there's just, again, go ahead.
I was just going to say, so that's the combination is the silver and the Shungite. That's the best one.
That's the best one, and we call it S4 powder. Yes, but so again, I love that I'm on this interview with you and your audience because I can make other points that. So a point would be, I don't want it lost that your intent, the individual, each one of us, our intent matters. Our thoughts, our energy, our feelings, as I think you all know. So when you're in this, you're putting yourself in this state of being healed, not healing, because that's a perpetual state of healing. You want the ED to be healed, see the end result. You are now programming your energy body, which is also a crystalline structure, as we all know is programmable. Well, again, don't program it to be in a constant state of healing. You want the end result healed. So Shungite will help you get to that frequency and then see yourself where you want to be. So if it's a sore muscle you have and you're trying to get that gone, see it already gone, not going away. Otherwise, it's a perpetual state of that happening. See the end result, get the Shungite and the silver frequency in your field, and that's where you're best going to heal yourself.
Yeah, that's an interesting. I've recently become so, I can't remember if it was Joe Dispenza or somebody I was listening to, but they were talking about, and I hear this in my tarot readings all the time of how people identify themselves. A girl in yoga had one of those patches on, one of those nicotine patches, and I didn't know what it was. And I said, what was that? Because I thought, ugh, you got to be careful with those. You're in hot yoga. And she said, oh, I'm trying to quit smoking. And I said, no, you quit smoking because if you're identified as quitting, that's the process, but you're an ex-smoker. So that identity there, I think, helps out a lot.
It does. I mean, as we all know, crystals are programmable, and where water is a crystalline structure, what percentage water are we? Well, and our environment, by the way, around us. So not just that, but use your thoughts or intent or imagination. It's all the same thing, and it's all real, of course, to program not only the frequency, but your physical body, and hey, your environment too. Because again, there's water molecules there. There's the crystalline structure everywhere. So the more love and healed frequency or feeling you can generate in you and your environment, well, guess what? You're going to heal yourself.
Now, a weird question because you're a sensitive person, because I looked online and the picture of your store is amazing. Like, you made it very clear size doesn't matter, because when I first was getting ready to call you, I was like, I'm going to need a sofa made of Shungite and I'm going to need blankets. And so it's good to know you don't need that much. But your store is just gorgeous it's just all crystals, all stuff everywhere. Does it feel different to you when you're in it or no?
Oh, and that's amazing. So yes, it absolutely does. And it is every single day when somebody new walks in, they don't even get through the front door, Karen, and they pause. And half the time they're grabbing their chest. I don't mean in a bad way, but like, oh my gosh. And they'll stand there with their mouth open, amazed. So I almost think that feeling. So what you're talking about, and it wasn't lost on me when I did the photo, of course, so there's a big sphere, think bowling ball sized piece of Shungite, and that's the largest in the United States. So that was actually made and gifted to us from the miners in Russia, because we run and own a nonprofit dedicated to saving the bees called ShungiteReality.org. And it's, again, the government 501 nonprofit, and we gift Shungite out to beekeepers worldwide and teach them, because, again, it's not about money. It's about us saving everybody. It's a team effort. So knowing frequency, of course, it wasn't lost to me that, well, if that's in the shot that I didn't put there intentionally, but when I noticed, I'm like, wow, it's not going to be lost, that they're going to feel this energy and feel, a refreshing breath from it. And that's amplified when you're in person. So to answer your question, when I do classes in here, when I talked about me seeing frequencies and entities and different things like that, I get it. It's kind of, out there for some people, and because, most people don't realize it yet that those can be observed. So they're not doing it yet. But in this environment with these, and it's hundreds of pounds of shungite here, it does have an effect on the frequency. So think thinning of layers, as it's sometimes termed, or frequency online, and lets the etheric layer more tangible. So even those that think they can't see these other entities or realms or past loved ones, well, let me tell you, they're seeing them here at Mystical Wares.
Wow. Oh my
Oh,
God.
yeah.
And
It's a lot of fun.
And I hope that you and your wife will be a guest at my show. I would like for you to come to my show in Bellingham if you're around. And I'm hosting a show there of all females, but I had to laugh because all these people I know, now I know like a holistic doctor that makes psychic CBD tea, and my two friends worked up there. So if I can get all my friends to the show, I call you my Shungite guy, I call him my psychic tea guy, and then my Reiki master and my demonologist, all in the same show. So that nothing can go wrong in that space. And hang on one second. We're going to come back, and I want to ask you about that area of Washington and some of the stuff you do. So hang on, folks. We all live busy lives. In fact, when I'm not podcasting, ghost hunting, performing stand-up comedy, or reading tarot for my clients, I'm trying to catch my breath and de-stress. All that on the go can really play havoc with your sleep and impact your health. That's why I'm so crazy about the relaxing benefits of CBD oil. But I care about what I put into my body, so I only look for the best. And that's how I found Zion Medicinals. The company was founded by Brian Caruso, who sought a natural pharmacy-grade solution for his wife's pain and insomnia. Zion Medicinals sources high-quality, healthcare-grade, premium hemp oil direct from an organic farm in Colorado, so you consistently get the best product every single time. The oils are full spectrum too, not CBD isolate, which means that every bottle contains all of the plant's naturally occurring compounds, including cannabinoids, flavonoids, and oils for a superior product. Every bottle is third-party tested to ensure it's pure and potent too. To get your Zen with Zion, check them out online at zionmedicinals.com. Tell them I sent you and use coupon code Karen20 for 20% off your first order. That's capital K, small AREN 20. Tell them Karen sent you. Okay, it was it was so kind the first time that I talked to you, because you were like, I'm always ready to sing the praises of Shungite. And I just thought that was so awesome. We're not going to run out of it, right? There's a lot, and you only need a little. I know that's the paranoid me in there going, wait, do we need to? It was funny because a while ago I heard that one of the drug companies tried to get not the copyright, but I'll use that word because I don't have the other one, to cayenne pepper. They wanted to have the monopoly on cayenne pepper, and it didn't go because it's so healthy. And I thought, is somebody going to try and grab up this stuff?
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. And some countries are trying to do that. So the size of it is a huge deposit. So about the size of a small city. It's really massive, and they don't know how far underground it goes. So it's a large amount, and they've been mining it for a couple hundred years. And then it was not a volume thing, so small amounts will go far. But yeah, so I think we don't have too much to worry about that anytime soon. But also because it's frequency. So an example is, I've driven up and down the west coast of the U.S. here probably 6 times this year, over 20,000 miles now, and I do what's called the Shungite grid. And I usually do it in secret. I'll take these thousands of Shungite nuggets and tuck them in and around huge old growth trees in waterways, in the ocean, and in other areas. And you can think like grid areas on the planet, and those are all real and exist. So think almost Reiki, and I prefer the term energy work or energy healing, but on a planet-wide or area-wide scale. And we have, if somebody goes to Google and types in the Shungite grid, they'll see a Google map that's now reached, close to 150,000 points worldwide. And I started this in secret, just kind of doing it myself, not thinking anybody was interested. I spoke about it on the radio, and now it's a whole worldwide event where everybody's taking part. It's not a me thing by any means. It's just a Shungite healing the planet, and it is making a difference.
Wow. And everyone, I don't know if you want to get a million emails, but I was going to say maybe all my listeners, they're all over the world. Maybe we should start putting some out there too.
Oh, you should absolutely do that. And if anybody, what we also did, if somebody places an order at our online store and just says, save the beads and order notes, I'm going to give you a free bag of Shungite to do just that, to go out and gift it to nature, give it to a beekeeper, give it to your bees, throw it in your backyard, gift it. That's what it's about. That's why we have the nonprofit. You got to spread love. You don't hold on to love. You got to share it with everybody.
Oh, you're amazing. Can we donate to your nonprofit, or is it easier to buy the Shungite and leave it around?
You can. We actually don't ever advertise that. This first time I've ever talked about it. So we've never had a donation come in, but we do have it. But you can just buy the products. Again, it's not about us. So even if you just go to the cosmicreality.net store and buy your own Shungite, and even just take one of the extra nuggets and gift it to nature, put it around a tree. I went to the redwood forest in California a few months ago, and I won't go too woohoo on here, as I say jokingly. Those trees will communicate and speak with you, and the love energy I felt. Almost tear. In fact, I'm feeling it now, and it's kind of overwhelming. But the energy was amazing.
Well, don't worry about woo-woo on this show, because we talk about talking to trees all the time. We go.
Oh, great.
We go dark and light. I sort of say we straddle. Sometimes we have scary stories. A lot of times we have healing. But I tell people that in their tarot readings, and I swear I will walk by my trees in my complex, and I'll go, "Hey guys," and I'll hear 3 different voices from 3 different trees go, "Hey Karen, what's happening?" And so so we're right on the right level here. And so these are not like crystals that need to be out in the moonlight or need to be cleansed. They're fine, correct?
No, these are what you want around your other things. So they never need to be cleared. They never need to be grounded, charged, nothing like that. And there can be nothing negative or harmful done with them. So if they're picked up with somebody with, let's just say, not so good intent, they're not going to do any harm. It's actually going to clear the harmful frequencies from them. So good luck. So no, Shungite, what I would do is tap your other crystals to it. So if you're into clearing crystals by burying them, putting them in the sun, using your intent or whatever, lots of ways, you don't need to. You can bring it near Shungite and just kind of get it next to it and tap it. There's an actual electron exchange, and the physicists figured this out. So much like grounding or earthing, when you grab a tree or stick your feet in the sand, well, that's not woo, that's physics. There's extra electrons leaving your body, and that's why you're calming down. Shungite does that as well. So if you have Shungite in your pocket or one of our bracelets or pendants or whatever, you're constantly hugging a tree all day, being grounded. And that's a state I prefer to be in.
Yeah, I know that's going to be my gift to everybody, whether it's like you sell or you had beads on your website, whether it's necklaces. I do a lot of knitting with beads in them and stuff. It just sounds terrific. Just to switch topic a little bit. So you see auras and energies and angels. Is that what you said?
Yeah, some people, so I do see all of those energies, and I just kind of generally term them energies. And I usually stay away from too many titles because I don't want to, get into the whole religious aspects with all of that. So I see entities. Some people call them angels, guides, past loved ones, but yes, I do. And I communicate with them.
Yeah, and being so because I want to ask you about Washington, because lately it has been coming up so much. First of all you guys are there, which was just weird. And my friends just picked up and moved there one day. They were like, I don't know what happened. She was like, my friend Jen was like, yeah, we went to Washington and bought a house today. And I was like, wait, what happened? They were in LA, and it was like, we bought a house. And it seems like almost a magical area. Do you communicate or see elemental spirits? You must in that forest, right?
Oh, the stories could go on for hours. So I'm going to start giving a class here. In fact, this next week on exploring Sasquatch. So in that same realm, I've had not just 3D experiences. I'm walking up on them, but I communicate with them, and many others can and do as well. But they're absolutely all around here. So we'll group them into those same type of beings, the ones that can straddle the other frequencies. And Sasquatch is one of them. They're a people, not an animal, as some people, kind of term them. But yeah, and even my father, he's almost 80 years old now, had no idea what a Sasquatch or Bigfoot was. And he actually drug his feet 2 years to tell me, Karen, hey, Derek, I walked up on this 9 foot tall, hairy guy, blah, blah, blah. And it went on from there. I'm like, oh my gosh, Dad, you have a woohoo son. I'm so deep in the woohoo, as I jokingly say, and it took him that long, but it was funny. So even the quote non-believers, yeah, they're everywhere around here in all kinds of entities.
So now, when you communicate with the Sasquatch, because I've only done one show on them, and it was actually kind of scared me because they are. I guess is it how you approach them, or the stories were a little bit scary from the ones I heard, but it sounds like you're not scared at all.
Oh, no, they're like any other entity. There's good, bad, and indifferent ones. They're not all happy-go-lucky or any other entity because they're not in a physical form or at that moment in a physical form. So there's different ones. So what I'll do is reach out to the ones on the same, loving frequency that are in that state at that time. And there's representatives, just like in humans and other entities, that will communicate. So you just find the right ones that want to, and that's not a problem once you say, in this analogy, have some pre-programmed love stations on your radio, because our physical bodies are a radio or an antenna. Well, why not use these things we like to call chakras or energy centers as a radio dial? So if you focus on these dials and get them such, you can get these other frequencies, and we can all do it, by the way. I'm nothing special. We're all special. Then you can do these communications and get the right frequencies. And then the worlds open that are amazing.
Wow. Now, I know this is a weird question because I don't know how people see things, but are elementals, I know it's sort of, if I was to go out in the street right now and bump into an elemental spirit, it's something that's not exactly in my consciousness. So I would probably find it scary looking, right?
You would. And one of my first experiences, I would see them with, I guess we'll call them substations. So power substations. I'll walk out and armor myself such, and just think a silver mirror facing out, and I'm in the middle of that. So in that state, I won't get too much here, I'm kind of invisible to anything negative or harmful. And I'm not saying everything's negative or harmful, but when I'm in that state, I'm just not seen by other forms sometimes. So then I can kind of be in an observer role. And because of the huge electrons or energy around substations, think that's kind of the material or meat that some of these entities use to focus in to get into these realms on different levels. So when I first started seeing them, yeah, they would look like kind of like Slimer, that guy from Ghostbusters, that weird ghost, kind of etheric and hazy, moving around. But as you start to focus, again, back to that rabbit ear antenna analogy on the TV, play with your aluminum foil, your physical body, your antenna, and your thoughts. And then that frequency or focus will come in, and then boom, there'll be straight up entities, and sometimes little 2 foot tall dwarf-looking creatures or little fairies, things like that.
Right.
All that stuff exists.
Oh yeah, and fairies were sort of my obsession, but I always kind of warn people not to mess too much with anything you can't see. That's my rule of thumb. When you say substations, what are those, like certain places in the woods that have the ley lines or more powerful, or you're just using that?
I should have been more clear. Sorry, I should have been more clear. No, I was talking about this power. So really places you don't want to be. So those big power at the end of the big utility poles or the big high tension power lines, they'll eventually into a city, accumulate with the big transformers. Uh-huh. And that's a huge, you don't want to be anywhere near that. I think that's kind of like your power or fuse box at your house, but of course 1,000 times bigger. And that's harmful frequencies, but it is frequencies or electrons that are flying everywhere, and that lets them kind of manifest more, and then they'll actually lead there. So I've seen these, I'll just be vague and not get specific, entities, they actually travel on the power lines into these substations like a highway, and then come out, and good, bad, or indifferent. So there's no judging involved here, just like humans.
Right.
Some of us are good, bad, and indifferent, and hey, some of us are in bad moods, so it happens on the whole realm. I see it all. But that is sort of a highway for some of them that need it. And that's not the only way, but that is one thing. So that's kind of, or the vortexes too. Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. So here's my weird question. Have you seen the movies Missing 411?
Oh, yes. And Mm-hmm.
Now, it was almost interesting to me that the 4 metaphysical people that will be at my show, hopefully, or are invited to my show, you, the doctor, and my other 2, you all are sort of drawn to that area of Washington. That area, those woods out there, have a very high concentration of people that have gone missing. And for folks that don't know, I'm looking to do a show on this. Missing 411 is sort of like hunters that are familiar familiar with the woods are people that go missing in strange ways. Do you have any theory on that, or are you not in tune to it because it's negative, or anything about that?
I have a whole nother show on that for you. So I'll cram some. So we live in Darrington, Washington. So that is the middle of the Cascade Mountains. We live in the heart of the area you're talking about. And I actually help search for some of those people, be it remotely, because I can do that as well. And other things. And I drive by the vehicles that get abandoned because I drive a mountain road to our Mystical Wear store in Mount Vernon. So I literally come from the middle of the mountains on a daily basis. You have to drive 3 cities away to find a traffic signal. So that's the area you're actually talking about, and that's where I live. So yes, that happens all the time, and I've been involved, and I look at that remotely, be it past ones. So I'm kind of not doing a whole lot of it, but I can even bring up the past events and look at them. So kind of play a movie in my head of whichever event that somebody's talking about and see what happened to the individual and things like that. So to not group too much together. It is a frequency thing up here, which is why some of us are drawn, and a lot of this happens. It's really all the above. So in the book you were talking about, sometimes it's just people being lost. Sometimes there are entities that actually open up doorways, and I've seen these in the physical, open up a doorway just like a movie in the 3D, and then there's a whole other realm, think like Doctor Strange, and people go through them. That happens. And then spacecraft, because of the whole, as I was kind of saying, I armor myself sometimes with a silver mirror, so I project my intent. Nothing negative can see me. Well, and I don't want to go too much into that, but then I get to view these craft, and they're straight up 3D ships that are. So I don't want to get too much in the ET thing, but those are there too. So it's not just a onesie experience out here. It's a plethora of them, and I've seen her experience most of it. And this year alone, I don't know, probably they haven't been on the news, by the way. So the stories that get to you in your shows and on Missing 411 are a fraction of what really happens.
Wow.
Because I'll sit around and wait. Again, I'm living literally in the neighborhood, and I'm hiking these trails, by the way. So people, I'll go out there and I'll walk in these same trails that people get abducted and communicate with the Sasquatch and ask them, say, hey, what was going on? That's what I'm saying. It's a whole nother story, because otherwise I'll drag it on 10 more minutes. But they're aware, Sasquatch and others. And yeah, so I would just say be cognizant out there and aware of where you're going and doing, because again, there's good, bad, and indifferent.
And you're so kind. I am absolutely going to drive you nuts. This is coming out in January, but I am absolutely going to drive you nuts for that next podcast next year, because it's funny because I love your side of it, because the guy that does, for folks that don't know, the guy that actually wrote all these books, Missing 411, he's an ex-police officer, so he's very facts, very three-dimensional is how I'll say it. He's very, as a police officer would do it. But on his last movie, which was called Missing 411 Hunter, at the end, he actually let them speak about portals and these doorways that people had seen, which is probably exactly your side, or what you see when you're talking about that. I'm gonna stalk you, Derek, for another podcast. And
no problem.
So fascinating. Oh my God, you've been so generous with your time and your Shungite and your information. So everybody can find you at cosmicreality.net.
Yep, correct.
Good.
Exactly.
Anything else? Any other place you want us to find you or follow you? Are you Twitter, Instagram, anything like that?
On Facebook, we have the Facebook group Shungite Reality, and Shungite spelled Shungite. But I also have started a new podcast where I give free information and whatnot on our mysticalwares.net website, where there's a lot more information people can follow us at as well if they're interested.
I'm interested in everything you're talking about, my friend. All right, everybody. So get your Shungite, get it there, spread it around the world. Let's get that good vibration out there. Thank you so much, Derek.
Thank you, Karen. I had a great time. I appreciate it.
Wonderful. And folks, if you could leave me a review wherever you listen to the podcast, and really, this is the one you send to people, even if they're not in the paranormal. I think this is very important information for our health and our being and our planet and our bees. So let's get this one out there. Thanks to Mike Flynn at Uno Rising Media. Everybody, I'll see you in Vegas or wherever. KarenRontowski.com, Paranormal Karen. Have a great day, everybody.